So, welcome to the show, Mr. Eric MacNeill. Eric, how are you, sir?
Good. Yeah. Thanks very much. Appreciate you having me on here.
No problem at all. It's great to have you on, man, because if anything, we've been chatting to a lot of folks here in the UK, but we haven't really spoke to many in the US. So, for people who aren't aware of who you are, do you want to introduce yourself, first of all?
Sure. My name is Eric MacNeill, and I live in Dunedin, Florida, and I'm currently the lead drummer for the City of Dunedin Pipe Band, and teach drumming full time here in the Dunedin schools and community programs.
Yeah, I think some people might be familiar with the band. Yeah. So it's 2018. I have to talk about it. How was it in 2018? Hearing that
Yeah.
name
Really
read
cool.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. We it was a great year for us. And the whole organization and the whole program here. The band had been building up for a few years. That was my third year in the band, and having been down here. And we went over to the Worlds, obviously, the previous year, and were encouraged by some things, but also frustrated by some things. And it ended up being just the right amount of sort of nudging that we needed to revamp and step things up to go back in 2018. And we changed our game plan a little bit to just the only other contest we did, other than being down in the early spring, was Maxville North American Championships right before we went over, which was a little bit of a risk, but our hope was that it was going to kind of slingshot the band forward. And I think it did that for us in the same way that the last few majors in July and early August kind of do that for the bands over in the UK. And yeah, it was pretty exciting the way that everything came together. And then the response back from the community here when we got home has been great. And one of the things that's been really cool long term has been the effect that had just on some of the kids in the schools and the people who have been in the band in the community here for a long time. There's been a pipe band in Dunedin for many, many years, but never one that was sort of playing at that top grade 2 level of the world. And so you now have young kids who are starting off in the school program who think, oh yeah, if I keep working at this, like I've got a path towards becoming like a really top level player because the program is at that level in the world. So it's been pretty cool.
That's it. So they have that incentive then, to get involved with
Yeah.
the Dunedin program. I could be a world champion someday. That's bound to be a big carrot on the end of the stick.
Yeah, that's been one of the, we didn't even really think about it at the time, but it's been a follow up, and that's been great.
So can we talk about the organization themselves? Like us here in the UK, we're familiar obviously with the grade 2 band. You're now grade 1, but it's not
Yeah.
just that band. You guys like have a huge organization
Yeah,
behind you.
there are for a little town here on the Gulf Coast of Florida, there are actually 6 pipe bands in Dunedin. There's a middle school pipe band, a high school pipe band, and then 4 pipe bands in the city of Dunedin: a grade 5 band, a grade 4 band, a grade 3 band, and the grade 1 band now. And the grade 5 band is relatively new, and that band about 5 years old maybe now, and that band started as a way to get adult beginners who were interested. And actually there's quite a few snowbirds, which I don't know if UK knows that snowbirds are basically older people who live in the north, and they winter in Florida. So they come down
Oh,
here
okay. Yeah.
starting in a normal year. They as soon as the first frost comes up north, they're down here, and then when it starts to get a lot warmer here in the springtime, they're back up north for the summer. And actually, quite a few people in this area from Canada and Toronto, and of course the Toronto Blue Jays spring training location is here in Dunedin. So that's pretty cool.
There you go. So for yourself, you're a New Yorker. Am I right in saying that? You were lead
Yeah,
tipper of Or Pipe Band? Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in upstate New York. and became the lead drummer for the Orrin Moore Pipe Band as a late teenager when the band was in grade 2, and stayed there through the 2012 season. And then ended up leaving the band, played in Simon Fraser University for several years at that point. And then when I moved down here, I was still playing with SFU for the next year. And then this band was kind of getting ready to travel over to the Worlds in 2017, and that's when I had to leave SFU at that point. And
that's it. Dedicate your time to Dunedin. Yeah. So
yeah.
with that in mind, then you guys obviously had a skyrocket to success, and now we've been hit with a global pandemic. How have you guys been coping with, lockdowns and all of that?
Yeah, well, at the start, it's been tough. It's been tough. I think it's been tough on everybody. We've obviously everything was suspended here. One of the things that really hit us was the Dunedin Highland Games that happen here each April is actually quite a big fundraiser event for the local programs, middle school, high school, city bands, and all the Highland dancing programs and all the education things that happen. And the timing of it all was particularly unlucky. We were full on gearing up for the Highland Games, and then really about 2 weeks before the games was going to happen is when everything really started to shut down and all events were canceled. And it definitely hurt that organization quite a bit, the Highland Games organization, quite a bit. There's a big financial setback there. Obviously disappointed with everything that, not being able to, missing the Worlds and missing all the we had planned to travel back up to Ontario last summer and head over to Scotland for our first time in grade 1. And so quite disappointed that that didn't really happen. But once we were, it was clear, like everything was off, and we probably weren't going to get, it was early April, I think it was, when the RSPBA ended up coming out and formally canceled the Worlds in the season. And it was like, okay, well, it's clear we're done. So we used that time to sort of start on some music projects that we had planned to get a new medley up and running this fall. And we kind of just dove into that back in April and started getting some ideas organized and trying things out. And we've actually been able to get some new material up and running, which has been kind of cool and a fun project. And then over the summer, things relaxed. The local ordinances here kind of changed a little bit to where we were able to actually have some small group rehearsals outdoors. First just on practice instruments, and eventually on bagpipes, kind of spaced out outdoors, and take advantage of that. And so we've been able to make some progress on some things. Some certainly haven't had the big band together, and we have several members who travel in from various parts of North America, and they've no one's been able to really come down at all. And but we have been making progress, little things, and just taking the advantage of the opportunity to where there's really no time crunch, and just work on some little details and help bring some younger players along, and try and get some new medley ideas ironed out in small groups. And I think I feel like we've continued to improve. The organization and the band will come out having improved during this time and not just remain stagnant, which is encouraging. Some weeks it's more frustrating than others, where God, you just especially over the summer, where you get this sort of checklist calendar sort of in your brain about the band should sound like this in July and the band should sound like this in August, and that just wasn't a thing.
If anything, it's encouraging though that you guys are still playing and creating music throughout all of this. Yeah,
it's still the weather here. It's still sunny until about 8 o'clock at night here during the week, and it's warm. It's in the mid to upper 80s Fahrenheit every day still. So the humidity has finally started to break, but we're fortunate that we can pretty much rehearse outdoors all year long. And so we're trying to take advantage of that kind of stuff as best we possibly can and safely navigate, navigate in all of this craziness.
Indeed, yeah. So you did mention earlier that Dunedin covers a number of school areas, like a high school band and stuff like that. Do you guys actively recruit youngsters, and how do you keep
Yeah,
them motivated in the band?
actually, I'll tell you the band, the school band, music band directors are very supportive of both of the programs, both at the middle school and the high school, and they are very encouraging of students who come along who might have an interest in pipes or percussion, that you should check out the pipe band. And the local school board has Ian Donaldson and I both in to teach at the middle school and the high school in a class 5 days a week, in addition to after school rehearsals twice a week or once or twice a week, depending at middle school, high school, with those bands. And this fall, it's certainly been a little bit interesting. There's been a lot of rules about woodwind instruments and what's allowed and what isn't allowed. But we have been able to have some rehearsals with the school players outdoors, and obviously spaced out and face masks, and it's been, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But that's better than, it's better than nothing. When it is frustrating, it's still something, and we're, positive about that.
That's it, indeed, yeah.
Seeing how the whole thing grows, yeah. So that's, and the school program, part of why there's so many bands here is this program's actually been in existence for 50, 60 years. The city of Dunedin has had a paid piping director through the city for I think it's about 60 years now, which is wild.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So piping definitely seems to be very strong in that area for sure. Yeah. So can I ask then about yourself personally then, Eric? You've been involved in quite a lot of online tuition and stuff, a lot of different events and things that you've been involved in. Do you want to tell us about some of those?
Well, sure. Back in the first thing, well, as a teacher, I've done some like Skype lessons and that type of stuff for years, and had a few, several long distance students over the years. When everything shut down in the schools here back in the springtime, everything in the schools moved online, and so started really doing a lot of online teaching at that point. And I was actually on a phone call in March when this all started to happen with Reed Maxwell, and we were talking about what was going on and what were things like out in Vancouver and what were things like here, and just got talking about upcoming teaching things that had been canceled, and some workshops that we both had planned to do that weren't going to happen, and it came, well, why don't we try and get something going online? I thought, well, that's a great idea, and so we ended up organizing this online drumming workshop at the end of April, we called it the Rhythmic Lockdown. And it was myself and Reed and Stephen McWhorter on there, and we got Andrew Elliott involved on tenor, and Christina Hanks to come and teach on the bass. And we didn't really know what it was, how it was going to go, and it ended up being really successful. I think we ended up with just over 60 students, most of whom registered in like the last couple of days. But we were pretty kind of blown away by that. It was the first time we'd ever done like a workshop style, like big group sort of format. And so it was definitely a learning experience, but overall the feedback was very positive. People really seemed to enjoy it. And then over the summertime, all the summer camps, normally in a summertime, I do quite a bit of teaching at week-long piping and drumming camps. I was supposed to do a camp. Sandy Jones runs a piping camp called the North American Academy of Piping and Drumming up in the mountains of North Carolina every summer, and So this is supposed to be my second year teaching there, and that, of course, all had to be shut down. And Piping Hot Summer Drummer, which is shut down, as well as the Invermark School in upstate New York, which was canceled for this year. So all of those schools ended up moving online. So I ended up doing 3 online schools in July, which was a lot, but really interesting. And it was pretty cool that the vibe of the summer school community, like when you're, kind of came through a little bit, even though it was all over a computer, people were still really keen to learn, and it was a lot of fun, which is really cool. And then it brought up a conversation after that, around the time that the Worlds would have been, and everybody was feeling kind of sentimental, and the World Solos was at that point off, where we got talking about we should do another one of these online workshops here this fall. So we are, the date that the World Solos would have been, we're doing another rhythmic lockdown workshop. And because it was so big last time, we've actually been able to expand the faculty, and we've added Stephen Crichton on for the snare drumming faculty, and Jordan Bailey on for tenor drumming. So that should be a lot of fun and pretty cool. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So can people still register for this now, or?
Oh yeah. Registration will close. Registration will close. It's the week of the event, or something like the 20th or 21st of October. So it's about a month, 3 weeks or so to still sign up. And the time of it is pretty. It's set up to where, like, if you're on the West Coast, North America, you can take the class, and it ends up where you're basically starting in the morning, early in the morning, 8 or 9 a.m. On the Saturday. And if you're in the East Coast US, it ends up being kind of early afternoon. And if you're in the UK, then it ends up being a sort of later in the day, evening time frame. But it is possible, actually, to kind of span that whole geographic location and participate in the workshop, which is, it's kind of cool. The last one, we ended up we had people from all over. We had students from all over North America, all over the US, Canada. We had some people from the UK, Glasgow, France. So it was
fantastic.
That was pretty cool.
That's brilliant. So if anything, Eric, that kind of answers my next question. I was going to ask you, what does the future hold for yourself? But clearly there's a lot of online tuition in your future then.
Right now things are busy, kind of trying to get organized with this online workshop here in the fall. And I'm also very involved in the organization in town called the Dunedin Scottish Arts Foundation, which is, I'm the president of that organization at the moment, which is basically the Highland Games Committee. And it's an organization that is a fundraising organization for all the programs in the area. And the 2 big projects that we do the Highland Games in the fall, and we normally do a Celtic festival, Celtic Music and Craft Beer Festival, every November. And that's been a big, that event has been a big project. At one point back in the spring, we thought we'll just postpone the Highland Games and we'll do the whole thing in November. It seemed like a great idea back in March, but obviously, that's not going to be the way that's going to go. We are hoping to not completely have to cancel that event, but Celtic Festival event, there's no Highland Games, but we are hoping to be able to have some sort of event, small event with some local music, a much more scaled back event than we normally have. But we're sort of looking to the downtown Dunedin format, where they've actually normally they have a very busy farmers market set up in downtown Dunedin on the weekends, and they have figured out how to run that outdoors, spread it all out, sort of controlled pathways, arrows, to help prevent people clustering on top of each other. And we're trying to look at that model and the model that the restaurants have taken, in downtown Dunedin, a lot of the on Main Street, especially a lot of the parking, on-street parking, has now gone away. They've gotten rid of it, and they've just moved the restaurant outside to expand outdoor seating.
Right.
And
Yes.
any restaurant who didn't have outdoor seating now has that, because they can just go out into the parking lot. So that's been kind of cool, and so we're trying to hope to take those business practices and be able to incorporate some sort of small event just to help keep things afloat here a little bit. And then, of course, we're all hoping that things are much improved into the new year. God willing.
No, here's hoping. Yeah, so I wish you the best of luck with that, Eric. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thanks.
So, well, before I let you go, I have some big Rab Show staples that we ask every guest that comes on.
Okay.
Now, these are really difficult now, and I'll need some thought on your behalf. What is your favorite cheese?
Cheese.
Yes. Have you got a favorite cheese?
Yeah, I would say, good question. Probably something with a little bit of spice to it, like you can get like a spicy, like habanero cheddar, like
I
quite
like the sound of that. Something with some chili flakes there or something. Yeah.
Yeah, something with a little bit of kick into it, and a hot pepper
Nice.
kind of.
I like that. Now, also, pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
I can do it. I can do it. It's not my favorite. It wouldn't be my go-to, but okay.
Yeah, it's still edible. Yeah.
No aggressive version.
No. And the final question then is, throughout all of your years of playing and drumming at the top flight and all the way through, what has been your most embarrassing moment in playing so far? One that's broadcastable, I mind you.
Most embarrassing moment.
Yeah.
Playing.
Have you got a moment that really makes you cringe?
Yeah, there was one year when I was young, newly lead drummer for the Oran Moore Pipe Band, and we were playing at a local contest, which was a big contest at the time. The event doesn't even exist anymore. At the Hunter Mountain Pipe Band Contest, which is in the Catskill Mountains of upstate New York, and it was a pretty big Grade 2 contest at the time, and I remember we were playing Pearl drums, and that year we had tried the drum was new, so this would have been early 2000s, very early 2000s, and we were trying some different heads, and that year I remember playing a drum, and we were the drum sounded really good that day that I ended up playing, but it had a little tear on the top where the top snare hits the head, and I thought, let me find that tear. It's been there for weeks. Well, it wasn't fine, and about halfway through the performance, you could see that tear, that little line. I remember thinking it was like a little blade of grass or something, and it wasn't, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was like, oh God.
Oh no.
So my play, I got lighter and lighter, and ended up going out to the side of it, and it held until like the very last note of the whole thing, and then the drums like it exploded.
Oh my goodness.
I remember thinking like, well, I won't do that again, and mistakenly, even if the drum's sounding good, don't take the drum that's got the ripped head. That was.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, Eric, thank you for sharing your story with us, mate. And if anything, we wish you the very best of luck, and of course to everyone on City of Dunedin Pipe Band. Please send our best.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we can't
Thanks,
wait.
yeah, appreciate it. We'll get to see you in person in the coming year here. Next summer, God willing, we'll be over to Scotland in August.
Oh, we hope so. We can't wait to see you on the grass, mate. So thanks, Eric, for chatting to us. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Rob.